This is the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, we interview leading local business leaders to inspire the vision and spirit that is in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque.
Super bomb episode today, guys. Really excited. We have Nick and Roger, and I want to make sure I pronounce their names right. It's Roger Peery and Nick Pavlakos. They were kids here in Albuquerque. They met in a math class at Jefferson Middle School. They have gone through their whole life living here, owning businesses here in Albuquerque. Next thing you know, they're like, hey, before we retire, let's start a distilling company. And they started Albuquerque Distilling Company. Super excited. They make what they say on their website. They make high quality hooch all day. Love that. But it's handcrafted spirits. You'll have to go to their website. It's albuquerque-distilling.com. That's albuquerque-distilling.com. But I had a great conversation with Nick and Roger. It was amazing. And we're going to jump right into the conversation about them being here local, being from Albuquerque, and then what happened when they wanted to start the distilling company, what went through with the government, what went through with the city, how long it took to get their license. It's going to be really, really interesting. I think you're going to love it. And I encourage you, if you haven't gone to the Albuquerque Distilling Company on Central, I encourage you to do that. You can type into Google. It'll Google map you right there. Amazing place, amazing people. And I encourage each and every one of you, let's support local businesses, guys. Let's do this. Let's, instead of going to these big chain restaurants or going to these big chain bars, let's do local. That's what it's all about. That's what makes America what America is. Small businesses helping each other. So let's hop right into the conversation. And thank you guys, Roger and Nick. Thanks once again. But I mean, like one of the main things that I think for you guys, especially here in Albuquerque, is you guys are from here. You're local. Right. I mean, Nick, how long have you been here?
I've been here my whole life too. I was born and raised here, and so I'm second gen. My father moved here in 1947.
Was it military related or
no? He was just, actually it had to do with his brother. His brother had asthma and couldn't sleep anywhere, and he was traveling to Phoenix and fell asleep for 2 days here in Albuquerque and called my dad up and said, "Found my new home. I'm going to live in Albuquerque." And my father said, "Alba, what?" And so he ended up, he was moving from Chicago and decided he wanted to hang out with his brother, so he moved out here.
That's crazy, because a lot of people I talk to that's been like multiple generations, a lot of them either moved out here, especially with everything that went on with Los Alamos and, World War II and all that. Because that was, so what was Albuquerque like when you guys were kids? I mean, compared to now, because the whole west side was just desert, right? That's what I heard.
Yeah, it was desert. And so was the north side of town. Paseo was dirt.
It basically, Wyoming was the edge of town, is what I recall. And my dad, he did all the what do you call it, the platting of North Albuquerque acres. So he actually platted that whole area, and so we used to go out there all the time. And it was, there's times where you were wondering whether you were gonna, he broke an axle out there one time.
Wow.
So, but it was just rough, like being out in the middle of nowhere next to the mountains.
It was because everybody talks about it being like a big small town. Mm-hmm. But then it was actually a small town.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously there was freeways here, right? Like 25 and 40 or. I-40 was in, and
25 and 40 were in.
In 47, it was, Route 66 it was going through.
Right.
And then some people don't realize Route 66, actually, the only crossroads of Route 66 where Route 66 crosses Route 66 is on the 4th and Central, because it actually used to go to Santa Fe and come down from there. And then we had a governor who got pissed off at something and ended up getting all this is a story that I actually heard at Rotary Club. So he got all the earth moving equipment in the state, because he had 30 days. He got voted out. He had 30 days. He got all the earth moving equipment in the state out to Moriarty and cut straight across into Albuquerque. and cut off Santa Fe because that's why he lost the election. And so
of Santa Fe?
Because of Santa Fe. So he rediverted. So he rediverted 66 coming down Central. And so that's the intersection that probably the only place in Route 66 that, I mean, he made it a better route if you really think about it, you know, going up to Santa Fe and then coming back down to Albuquerque and going to Los Lunas and then back out where I-40 is. That's the original route. So it's kind of funny how things, you know, how somebody can do that.
That's crazy. And then, because I know like it was Wild West probably back then. I mean, because very few people, I mean, because I always hear now, you know, like very few people are prominent in New Mexico because it's one of the poor, you know, states. And so there was very few people that were actually running New Mexico. I imagine back then it was probably just a few families. And
it was a few families that were running everything back then.
Well, I don't know that it's that much different now.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But so you guys grew up here. You guys went to high school together.
Actually, we met when we were 13 years old in what we used to call junior high school before it became middle school.
Was it to a fight or?
No, we had
back then you could fight, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, it wasn't a fight. It was math class.
Math class. So we were cheating together in math. So.
Oh, that's funny. And then from there, you guys met at 13, and then you went to high school here, obviously.
Right. Yeah. We both went to Highland, which is right across, literally across the street from our distillery.
Oh, perfect.
And that was the thinking in where we put our distillery is we both grew up in that neighborhood and we wanted to see that area come back around and be what it was. Art included, the art bus included. So, that's why we had opportunity there as far as having a building available to us. And, so we decided that that's where we're going to, put our stakes and see what we can do.
Did you really mean art bus included? Wouldn't you prefer art bus excluded? Or
well, I would prefer it excluded, but since we're pregnant, I want to see that the kid grows up and goes to college.
That's a great analogy since we're pregnant. Yeah, so that is right in the middle of the street.
Yeah,
where you guys,
it's right smack right outside our windows.
Narrows down right in front of our building. The lane narrows down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy to me to think that, because I went there the other day because I had to go over by UNM, and just the amount of construction, and it's down to one lane, and those businesses all in that area have to be hurting.
Well, my understanding is that I read someplace like 47 businesses closed in the first year that they started art.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, really think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because art was supposed to be this way to rejuvenate the
whole area.
That whole area. And it ended up putting a stake in the heart there.
Oh, yeah. That's horrific. I know. So question, with you guys starting a distillery, obviously it's kind of beginning stages. How long have distilleries, when did that happen when the government was like on the federal side? When the government was like, okay, you guys can do a distillery.
Oh, for us personally?
Yeah. I mean, because you got to go to the ATF.
Yeah. So that was that 2016 we got that license?
2015.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a process, and we went through that, and then submitted our application to the city, and then they forced us into mandatory arbitration with the neighborhood before they would accept our application. And the neighbors were kind to us and didn't protest, and we're happy we were coming in trying to change the neighborhood.
But Nick, you were talking about the federal government, like especially the ATF, which is Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. They were pretty straight up, really legit.
Well,
everything.
Yeah, they kind of gave us a list of what they wanted. It wasn't an easy list by any means, but they gave you a list, and pretty sure you check your boxes, and sooner or later you're down at the bottom of it. You hand it in, and they come back and say, "Okay, great, you're ready to go."
Yeah.
It wasn't
straightforward. Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of debating or, we meant this and not that. It wasn't ambiguous. It was very, this is what we want, get it to us, and then you're free to go.
And the crazy part about it is the federal government was pretty cool with you guys. Then we start to get to the state.
Yeah. The state was a lot more difficult to deal with, without a question.
Yeah. It's it's an unfortunate process working with the state on this deal. we go through our federal license, get a city license, and the state won't even take a look at our license, won't even accept it until we can prove we manufacture. So got all this risk capital sitting there, hoping that the man in Santa Fe will bless us. And fortunately, they did. But it's a scary process when it's like that.
So you literally had to go through the whole process of getting all the equipment, and actually, did you have to distill?
We had to show them
product.
We had to show them that we could distill.
Basically,
we can't distill until you get your license.
Right.
Yeah, we had to completely do our build out actually. So we're all in with all of our construction and hookups and everything else.
That's super scary.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. I'm not positive. It just the process was that process was very ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that other distillers will tell you, it wasn't as hard as all that. But for us, it was. And it was just, we kept finding new things that we had to account for that weren't accounted for. And it just seemed to kind of stretch longer and longer. That's why it took so. And we had, a partnership that we were trying to put together that wasn't quite going the way we wanted to. And,
right.
And so, the interesting part is that in all honesty, Roger's probably the only person I really wanted to be in business with.
Right.
So to see everybody else kind of dissipate and go away wasn't a heartbreaker in my book anyway. So
was it just the amount of time and the length of everything and it being drawn out? Because you guys got your license in 2015 and now we're in 2019.
No, we started the process we incorporated in 2015 and then we got our license in 2018.
Wow. So it took 3 years to go through the whole process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that mainly the state or the city or a combination? Or
I think it was the state for the most part. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think the state held us up. I'd say a good year holding us up.
Yeah.
A whole year. Wow.
A whole year.
And the city, they had their things that we had to kind of, hold your nose, scratch your head, and keep one foot off the ground. But they were at least, there's a young lady that works for the city that was fantastic.
Really great.
Yeah. And she really knows the process. And she just said, look, do this and we'll get through this. And it was great.
Yeah.
She was nice.
She was really helpful.
Isn't that amazing how one person can be a linchpin like that and create a whole process that can be amazing?
Yeah.
Because I know, and we were talking about this a while back when we were talking, but having businesses, especially here in Albuquerque, one person has opinion of something, another person has opinion. You have an inspector come in, and then they decide to do this, and then now you're held up longer, and then you've got to change processes, and then that costs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
How was that with you guys as far as was the back and forth really heavy? Did it cost more than what you're anticipating?
I don't know that it costs that much more than we anticipated. We just ran into a couple things that we had to change kind of. And again, it was, to me, it felt like it was an opinion. In my opinion, you need to have this here.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a minute. We brought these plans to the city. They're approved and they didn't ask for that. Okay. But in my opinion, that needs to be here.
So we have approved plans. We go through the whole process. They're stamped by the engineers, approved by the city. And then an inspector comes in and says, well, this should be there. Or you need to add this. And it's like, but we have this approved plan. Well, you want your green tag or don't you?
Yeah.
So,
wow. Yeah. So that process wasn't as clear as it should have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
With
sure.
that. So, but just to think that you would take a year to get a license is amazing to me.
Yeah. And it was, I got to admit, sometimes it was scary at times because you're thinking, man, if this goes wrong, what do we do now? Yeah. What do we do now?
I'm going to work till I'm 90 on my day job. So,
Yeah. We both kept our day jobs. The good thing, we both kept our day jobs because it would be a much different.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when it comes to distilling, what do you guys distill?
So currently we have a light rum, a dark rum, a vodka, which is distilled 5 times. We have a corn whiskey, a white whiskey it is, and a watermelon moonshine. We just bottled apple moonshine and peach moonshine. We have a single malt whiskey aging in a barrel, and we're starting on a rye whiskey this week.
Oh, wow. So you guys are doing quite a bit. It's not just because I see some places it's just vodka or it's just rum, but you guys are going through the whole gamut.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing we're not touching on right now is bourbon, just because of the aging requirement and the lack of space that we have right now. So at some point we do want to, I'm a bourbon drinker, so that's really where my focus is. But I got to admit that dark rum is pretty damn good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's I was impressed with the dark rum when we first made it. Roger really kind of formulated it, and when I first tasted it, I was like, "We did that."
That's
Wow.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
pretty
told you
bad.
it'd work.
Wow. I was like, gee, I mean, this is like really good. Like I would pay to drink this.
That 4 years of breeding paid off. You know?
Yeah.
So so you came up with the formulas, or
Yeah. So I developed all the formulas for our products.
Roger's the science and I'm more the business. And
okay.
So he's back in. I mean, we both go in there and do what we need to, but we have a distiller. And then my daughter is studying to be a biochemist. So she's kind of got the chemistry part of it as well. So she loves to be around all that stuff too. She's like a little bee. She's constantly
She
in there.
understands all the science
Yeah.
and chemistry. It's really great.
And you know, both Mike, our distiller, and Roger sometimes will call her and say, "Hey, this isn't working. Why?"
Yeah, I mean, just because it's all science based.
It's all
I mean,
chemistry.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just a science project. That's what I tell everybody. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
So with you guys having that distillery, and I know I think you guys said there's like 6 or more distilleries, in the area. And I one thing that I had heard is that some distilleries don't even distill. They kind of just, purchase it from somewhere else and then package it. Is that
Right.
how that goes?
Yeah. Some
Yeah.
people will buy bulk spirits, whether it's whiskey or vodka or whatever. They'll buy it in bulk. And then the license just requires them to do something with it, redistill it or flavor it or do something else with it one time. And then they can put their own label on it.
Yeah, that's kind of I've heard it referred to as value added. So they get it, change it somehow, bottle it, and then as long as they've changed it from when they got it, that's my understanding. I mean,
you're
we
right.
don't,
Yeah.
we're not involved in any of that because we really set out to make a quality product and have a quality all the way around. So we looked at what kind of liquors we wanted, and we really wanted everybody to be accounted for. So we didn't want it to be just a bourbon bar or just a vodka bar or any of that stuff, because you may come in with your buddy who likes vodka and you like rum,
Right.
So we tried to hit on all things. And then the other thing that we really focused on was that we wanted quality all the way around. So what I mean by that is we don't use like high fructose syrups. The bartender squeeze the juices right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because we spent a lot of time making this liquor, and Roger spent a lot of time studying about this liquor. And so we really want everything to be at that level. And same with the food. The food we really were very fortunate to find a young man who was very motivated and wanted to have his own kitchen, but he's a great cook. And so we really were able to sit down and come up with food that really complements what we're doing. And along with the fresh food and the fresh juices and a great liquor, I think we have a winning deal. But
Now, do you guys have like is it like a 1 or 2 page menu, like laminated or something like that? And then
it's not laminated, but it's a 1-page menu.
Oh, it's a 1-page menu. And then from there, do you have like certain signature drinks or you guys have came up with?
Yeah.
Not only on the distilling side, but
Yeah, we've got a really good bartender that is very creative. So she researches our products and what she could make with them. And so, for instance, this summer with our watermelon moonshine, she came up with a drink she called a Sandia Shine. And so it was a really refreshing watermelon drink. But now that's out of season, we've got fall coming on. She's going to do some new stuff with our apple moonshine. And she's changing the classic or specialty drink menu all the time to kind of fit the seasons.
And we also have a drink for our high school called the Hornet. It's very
It was the
interesting.
Highland Hornets.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We spent that took us a while to get to because it went through different iterations and it didn't. At first, it wasn't a good drink, but it was interesting. She put chili powder in it, and that made the whole drink. It's unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's an art. It really is.
So she works with our chef too, and like he uses our vodka in his sauces. He just the other day, I don't know if you're there. Well, he put whiskey in the shrimp for our. We're starting a Bloody Mary bar on Sunday,
Right.
and so he came up with this. Let's put some whiskey in there and use our whiskey in the shrimp, and it really is fantastic. I mean, I don't know. I'm very, very pleased with all that because I like playing with stuff, but I like it when it really works.
Oh yeah.
You know?
When you shock yourself.
Yeah.
That's always so awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, wow, we created this.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So on the moonshine, that always has like this bad connotation, like a name or whatever, or it's something that you can. what is the process? And this may be for you, but what is the process on Moonshine? Is it when, and I don't want to get too technical, but we all see these Southern things that, people in the woods. But how does that go?
Well, moonshines are just, they're a pretty simple thing to do in terms of making them. That's why they make them out in the woods so much. So if you ever watch the Moonshiner show, they may use corn or fruit or whatever they're using, but you always see them pouring in a bunch of bags of sugar. So it's sugar and whatever else you want to add for flavor. And so it's kind of a generic term for anything you want to make that's not, a gin, a vodka, whatever, something like that. So it's kind of a fun thing to experiment with and come up with.
That's cool. And as far as because there's a huge brewery scene, beer scene here, have you guys done anything playing around with, mixing? Because I saw that the other day, there was a guy that was actually taking rum and beer and doing different things, in that side of things, or putting beer into different containers. And
yeah, we actually are looking at that, because that's why we have a friend of ours who's a retired engineer, and he's been brewing for how long? About 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, probably about 10 years. He's gotten really serious in it since he retired.
Right. Since he retired, he's really focused on it, and he makes some great beer. But he kind of came down about a month ago.
Yeah, a month or two.
And we kind of sat down and we're trying different, our alcohol with his beer, or beers that he thought he could, if he didn't have any, we could make.
Right.
And do you remember what you called that thing?
Oh, we used to call them Boilermakers in the old days.
Yeah.
But, it's like put a shot of something in with the beer. And, not a full shot, but in with the beer and see how the flavor comes out.
Right. But the way we did it was, we have a long shot glass, and we put the alcohol in there, and then you put the glass on top of it and flip it over and put the beer, so you can see the alcohol in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can either pull it all out, or you can slowly seep it into the beer. And that was interesting. That was it looked cool. And it tasted, the one that we did, I don't remember the combination, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was our dark rum with a porter that he made was really good.
That's what I was just thinking that, because porters would go perfect with rum.
Yeah.
Especially a really dark rum.
It was awesome, because I'm not, I've had too many bad experiences with the Boilermaker when I was in college. So I wasn't excited about jumping on that train, but it was tasty is what I liked about it. And that's really kind of where I'm at in my life, is I'm not drinking to just get blasted and
of course,
say rude things to people around me. I really would just rather enjoy the alcohol, because I enjoy it. And I think that's something that we both have in common, is we're purists in that sense. So we want whatever it is we're tasting to be at the best possible place.
That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that Hornet drink Nick mentioned earlier, we had some of our regular customers try it. And one guy, he said, why don't you guys try this drink too? I was like, why don't you that's horrible. Let's work on that.
Have you tried this? Why are you making me drink it first?
It was good to get some feedback, whether it's good or bad, So.
Well, he was very gracious. We told him, you're not going to pay for that. And he goes, no, it's okay. And I'm like, no, you're not paying for it.
I wouldn't drink it. How would you drink it?
Yeah. So
what are your guys' plans for future wise? Do you have anything? Are you just trying to get because how long have you been open for, to the public?
About 7 or 8 weeks now, I guess.
Oh, wow. So this is brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And business is slow, but what I like is there's new faces it seems like every day there's a new face in there. And that's really, we're building a business. So it's not going to be the floodgates open and 1,000 people walk in.
Right.
We had a great grand opening, which was really cool. But since then it's been slow. Last weekend was, I don't know if the cold weather had a lot to do with it, but it was a pretty slow weekend. But like I said, there's new faces that are coming in, and that's great, because that's really how you're going to build a business, is having new faces, not having, and of course we love we do have, believe it or not, we have a couple regulars that come in and they're great. We sit and shoot the bull with them, and it's nice. It's a nice experience.
Really nice. It's really nice and cozy kind of place, and we're meeting some nice people.
Yeah.
And you guys have a really cool website. What's the website again?
Albuquerque-distilling.com.
So I encourage you guys to go on it. We're all about supporting local businesses. We were talking about that earlier. I kind of want to get into it a little bit, if you guys don't mind, because you guys have grown up here your whole life. What do you see that's the good and the bad of local business especially small business in Albuquerque? And maybe I'll start with you, Nick, if that's fine. Like, let's start with what are you seeing with the city and things that are going on?
I think in general, for whatever reason, our local governments don't seem to be business friendly. And you hear that and it almost sounds like, yeah, whatever. But Roger and I both have businesses outside of this.
Right.
And so I have like 3 or 4 different businesses that I'm in. And I can see it at different levels. And I really don't understand where the disconnect is, because I don't think if you were to talk to any of these people and say, hey, why do you hate business? They'd say, no, absolutely not. Business is important. But they also get stuck into the regulation side and they nitpick you on the regulation side, and they don't realize, and I'm not sure why, but they don't seem to get the concept that the more little things that the more I try to shove your business into my mold, it's not going to work. You have to let the businesses be able to be free enough to function and do what they need to. They have to be flexible to create a new space and be successful. And I think when regulation gets in there, there's a place for regulation, don't get me wrong. But at some point, when it crosses that line where it's now shaping your business and how you can do business, that's where it's wrong. And I can understand trying to keep you in a general area, but to try to stick you in a tiny little box is just not a good idea.
And I always tell people this, coming from Seattle and seeing, that's regulation to the hilt, but seeing how much land is available here in Albuquerque still, how the weather is, how everybody I talk to that moved down here from a different city, how inexpensive it is. It is really the last stronghold city that could explode for growth, because Austin's done, Oregon's done, Washington's done, California's done. 25,000 people are moving into Colorado every month. Right. So, besides Boise on the west side of the United States, there's really no, we could be that next, Austin, Texas, or that next city here, and it's almost like we need to get out of our own way, or I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
That's a good way to put it. I do a lot of business in Texas for one of my other businesses, and their motto is "We're open for business," and that's why they're getting so much growth in a lot of those places. And I think if New Mexico decides that they want to kind of relax the regulations and help people get into the market a little easier, we can really take off and have a great business.
So there's a whole different mindset, Roger, when you go to Texas and do business compared to here in Albuquerque.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And is it mainly just the idea of trying to, do you feel like it's a few people trying to slow growth, or is it just this mindset of the regulation side of things?
Well, my take on it is I don't think that, again, I don't think anybody deliberately says, I don't want growth.
Right.
They think that growth is nice. This is my impression again. Growth is nice when it's controlled and when I can fit everything nice and neat into little boxes. Like I said, stick us in a room, great. Don't stick us in a little box. The room's fine. We can move around. We can do what we need to do, stay within those boundaries. That's great. But when you shove me in a little box and put a lid on it, there's no room for anything. And then, you then have to apply and try to get the government entity that's regulating you to either relax or change, which is close to impossible, I think. I don't know. I've never been able to get any regulators to say, oh, you know what, you're right. I think we're going to do it your way.
Yeah, it's crazy. I talked to a guy the other day that's starting a tech company here, and this big, huge tech company that's out there now in California gave him $14 million to start it here in Albuquerque.
Wow.
So it's interesting how, and then he went up to Santa Fe and is going through the process. But there are companies that are out there that have their eye on the state, and I don't know, we had Google that wanted to come here, and then that turned into, a fiasco. And then Intel's been back and forth, in Rio Rancho. What do you think? You guys started this business and have multiple business. What do you think do you think that's the biggest deterrent for these companies? I know the film industry's been flirting with us and going back and forth. What is the mentality of the state towards outside companies?
Well, my impression is that if like somebody comes in with $14 million, that's sexy enough to get their attention.
Right.
Google or Facebook, their attention's there. The movie industry, attention's there.
Right.
But I think, we talked about this earlier. Really, the backbone of our economy is small business.
Yes, exactly.
That's really what holds us upright in this world. And that's where I think the attention is lacking. They don't seem to say, hey, and maybe it's a lack of experience. I don't know. I mean, honestly, sometimes I think that's what it is when you're talking to somebody that's never had a business, never made a payroll, never done any of these things.
Right.
And they're telling you, oh, no, you can't do that. You got to do it this way. It's like, yeah, but when I do it this way, I lose money doing it this way. And there's no communication that you can say, hey, if you would just relax and let me do this, I will increase the amount of taxes I'm paying to you because I will be more successful.
Yeah, that's something that. Go ahead, Roger.
Oh, I was just thinking, a business like ours, we don't get any help from the state or the city financially, but you bring in somebody who's big and sexy, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of tax breaks or maybe even some free public money for you to help your business get started or build out or whatever. And that doesn't exist for a small or medium-sized business. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And unfortunately, in my other business, I deal with regulators a lot. And again, I don't think they set out to say, hey, I'm gonna put you in the ground and snuff you out. They're like, oh no, we're here to support you and help you. Okay, well, if I have to do 15 things just to open the door, that's 14 things too many.
Yeah, and then the cost to each of those 14 things.
Right.
That part is never. It's just like, here's the regulation, here's what goes, here's how it. But to jump all those hurdles, to go through all those hoops, each one of those costs.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not just the regulations. It's the regulations. It's policies, which, unwritten rules. And then there's kind of the, what do I feel like today I'm going to do to this guy? Because I like to see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth too, is that some of the regulators are compensated in power. They have complete authority to knock you right out of contention.
You think they get that in their contract?
I don't know.
So there's not a lot of checks and balances for power.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Anyway, I don't know.
I read a statistic. It was like in Albuquerque Business First or something. I think it was like 80%. Besides, the labs and and government, the rest is small business for employment in New Mexico.
Right. We
don't realize how huge of a when you look at construction and you're looking at, natural gas, oil and gas and all that we have, especially when we get out of Albuquerque, we don't realize all the little mom and pops and small businesses that, are just completely flooded New Mexico. And that brings in the revenue. Yeah. Your guys just open up a business and you're looking and you have multiple businesses. Right. You guys are taking the brunt of city taxes.
Right. And like Roger was saying, we're not getting any kind of credits from anywhere. I mean, Facebook is getting millions of dollars to move in here. And it's like, okay, so by the time the tax revenue catches that, granted, they have a bigger operation, right? And they have a better chance of making those millions. But what does it take to get there? Is my question. Is how many years do they have to be in business before the taxes catch the tax break? And I believe in it because it's good to incentivize them to be here. It helps our environment. But again, the small business guy doesn't seem to get those incentives.
And that's sad because the area that you guys are in, especially, that's small business haven.
Yeah.
That whole area should be incentivized to bring small business to them, not try to put something in there and shut 40-something businesses. Or you say 70-something?
47 is what I'd heard.
Yeah, 47 businesses.
Yeah.
Small businesses are very fragile as it is anyways. So to not to turn around and say, okay, we've got an issue on Central, and then the closer we get to the base, the more issues we have, with crime and the more businesses we put in there, the more that we can do to be pro growth in that area. It's going to push all that riffraff out.
Yeah, it changes the dynamics of the whole city along there. If you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And from Seattle area, have you guys ever heard of Tacoma?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tacoma, Washington. Well, if you go there, I always tell people this. 15 years ago, Tacoma, you wouldn't even go downtown. Metro buses would not even go down there because the crime was so bad. all the old buildings were all, either they were being used for homeless people, and there was drugs and prostitution, everything going on. Now you can go downtown Tacoma, and it is one of the nicest. People from Seattle go to Tacoma because it's one of the nicest places. That whole waterfront that used to be, so somebody within 15 years totally revamped and turned everything around. They, did those old buildings, but a lot of businesses came in there, and they incentivized these small businesses to come in there and gave them tax breaks when they were starting off, to help them to, say, hey, we need to take this area of town and revamp it all. And it's just sad that, you guys are starting it because it's considered like a cool business.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a cool business.
Yeah. Whether it's brewery or distilling or whatever. And it gives a culture and it creates community. And, you guys have been here your whole lives and you're successful in starting something. You would think somebody would come along and say, hey, let's help you out, or,
right.
Let's at least be pro you guys and push this along, not wait a year for one license.
Yeah.
For one license.
Yeah.
Right?
The actual last linchpin to get into the the track and move it. So
what, as far as the distilling side of things, you guys are going to get into a little bit more. Are you guys looking at, because it's only been 7-8 weeks that you've been open. Are you looking at collaborations? Have you had anything with that? With because breweries, I know you mentioned the one brewer that you guys know.
Yeah.
Or have you guys got into anything, or is it just right now just trying to get the menu down, the drinks down?
Yeah, I think right now it's a combination of things. I think we pretty much have gotten a lot of the day-to-day operation down. But we definitely like collaboration. What I really am very happy about is the distillers in town are very friendly to one another. It's not,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're not like, you're the enemy and stay away from me.
Yeah, we had a bunch of distillers come over and check our place out and visit us, try to help us, gin up a little business. And they get together. They have the New Mexico Distillers Guild, so everybody's trying to help each other out with not only just getting the word out about this market, but also with regulations that may be forthcoming.
Yeah,
it's really great.
So it's kind of a nice little community, and I do appreciate that, because I think a rising tide does float all boats, and that seemed to have worked for the brewers in the city. They were all very connected to one another. They weren't adversarial towards each other, and they ended up. We have a great. I've had people come visit me that are stunned at how many good beers we have in Albuquerque. And
that's what I said. I was beer snob from Portland, Seattle.
Right.
And you guys have better beer here than they do up there. Like the IPAs and stuff here are through the roof.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who's exactly Mr. Beer Snob. And and he's like, oh, well, where I come from, we have this and that, Rolling Rock or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. Well, let's go try a beer and see what you think. And the funny part was watching his face, trying not to show that he was impressed with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I've been amazed, especially but I know Marble did a thing this summer. They did something with tequila barrels or something like that.
Oh,
and then put a beer in the barrels and just let it sit, and then when you tasted it, it was like a really calm lager. But it adopted some of the flavoring of the tequila.
Yeah.
Is tequila hard to make, or?
Well, you can only make tequila by that name in Mexico. So,
really?
So you have to call it Sotol or something else here.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like Irish whiskey, Scotch. It's just and bourbon geographical for the various countries.
Yeah. Bourbon is, people think that bourbon has to come out of Bourbon County, and that's not true. It has to come from the United States. So,
Oh, really? So you can make bourbon?
Yeah, we can make bourbon.
Yeah. So that'll be something, because you're a bourbon guy. So that'll be something in the future. Is it hard to make bourbon, or?
No, it's just, we use a whiskey recipe that I have, and it's just a matter of having this, for us, it's a matter of having the space to age it in a barrel for a long period of time as required by law. We just don't have that kind of storage space right now. But in terms of making the whiskey that goes in the barrel, I think we've got that pretty well figured out.
That's all down. You guys are doing good on that end.
Yeah.
So, what is the address where you guys are at if somebody wants to go visit Albuquerque Distilling?
So we're at 5001 Central, which is 2 blocks west of San Mateo on Central. And so what you would do is you would go to Jackson Street, and there's a Bank of Albuquerque on the corner.
Right.
And so you would turn on Jackson, headed north, and there's a parking lot right to your, so you go right and then right again, and then we're in suite A4.
Oh, okay. So if they see the Bank of Albuquerque, and they just hang a right there,
And there's a parking lot.
immediately to that.
and they'll see the signs.
Yeah, and that's really our front entrance, even though we have doors along Central. You know, being that close to Central is got its.
We have not regentrified it yet, but
Yeah.
we're working on it.
How's that been? Have you guys had issues with people coming in there?
You know, we've had some issues. I mean, for the most part, my theory is, you know, you get what you send out. And so I'm always very polite and kind to any of the homeless that are around. I always try to tell them, like, you know, can you just move down, or can you move, you know, you can't be here. And usually they kind of take that and they're fine. You know, I'll give them a bottle of water and say, hey, you know, take your time, get ready. But, you know, by the time we open, do you think you could move along?
Oh, right.
And usually they comply. You know, they're not looking to be rousted every 10 seconds. They kind of want to relax and do their own thing.
You get most of the time you get what you give. If you're really nice to people, they're nice back. You know?
Yeah, of course. You're right.
So, you know, but we do have tables along the windows there that we call the observation deck, because sometimes it's pretty interesting to watch what's going on out there. And
yeah, I was looking at somebody sent me a video the other day of something crazy going on at a bus stop over on Central. So yeah, it's just amazing. You do have, that's funny, an observation.
So you can sit there and kind of watch it. It's interesting. And you know, but other than that, they're not, at least we haven't experienced violence or any of that kind of stuff.
Good.
You know,
Yeah.
it's been, everybody seems to be very mellow. And like I said, my impression again is that they just want their quiet space. They want to do what they're doing, and they don't want to be bugged.
Right.
So if you politely ask them to leave, they kind of, most of them figure out, hey, well, he's going to be back to bug me some more. So why don't I just take his bottle of water and move somewhere else?
Right.
So, and that works. That works.
Yeah,
good.
I know a lot of that has to do with like mental illness and stuff like
Yeah.
that. A lot of the homelessness. So, and I know some people have wanted to go into that area and open business, but they've been afraid.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at anything? If this goes really well and it takes off, are you going to like try to go to the west side or go different areas? I mean, I know it's brand new and you guys haven't even.
Well, we like to dream. Yeah, I mean, at some point in the future, we'd love to have a second location.
Right.
I think the other thing we'd like to have is a bigger still. So if things go well, I think that would be our first move, is to expand into some of the other suites and bring in a bigger still that can produce even more, more.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah, bigger fermenter, bigger still. We can cut down our production time significantly if we get to that point.
And can you buy bottles? Can you go in? We can go in and buy a bottle of rum or whatever.
750 milliliters. That was
wow.
We got everything in 750 milliliters. One of the other things I wanted to kind of touch on is everything has to do with Albuquerque. All our labels have to do with Albuquerque. So, like the whiskey is called 1706 because Albuquerque became a city in 1706.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the label has, the Camino Real is a map of a Camino Real in the background. So it's kind of, we spend a lot of time on the labels. We spend a lot of time on the names. The rum is called El Duque, both the dark and the light. The vodka, that's the only one that takes some thinking. It's called Quad Vod because it's actually a double entendre because it's quadruple distilled. Actually, it's 5-time distilled, but it's a quadruple distilled vodka. But Albuquerque's broken into quadrants, northeast, southeast, and there's an X on it instead of a cross. So it's not northeast, south, or west. It's northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest.
And then you guys have the labels and all that. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's all local.
Yeah.
It's all Albuquerque. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys did that.
And then all of our moonshines are chupacabra. I don't know if you know the story of the chupacabra,
So that's the thing that's in the ditches or whatever they get you as a kid.
Well, it's a legendary beast, and some people swear it isn't legendary. Or it's legendary for other reasons. Yeah. Well, we got a great label for it too. It's got the moon on there and stuff. It's pretty
Oh,
good.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Little chupacabra critter on there. The story of the chupacabras on the label. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I want everybody to go to their social media and follow you guys. And that is Albuquerque Distilling. It's just at Albuquerque Distilling.
Right, correct.
And then website again, Roger, what is it?
Albuquerque-distilling.com. So, yeah. And then Instagram and Facebook, of course, we've got that.
And you guys are mainly on, either you'll have updates on the website or you guys mainly just post on the Facebook or the Instagram. Yeah.
And we're open primarily Wednesday through Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're open from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we're open 11 to 9.
Oh, okay,
on both
9, right.
Saturday and Sunday. And we have football games on if somebody wants to come watch football or college football or I don't know, say whatever. Yeah, we were watching baseball too. So I shouldn't say it's just football.
Oh, that's cool. And then lunchtime, if they want to have a business meeting or something, have kind of chill, quiet, have a couple drinks.
Yeah, on Saturday and Sunday.
We can set aside some space for people that want to. There was a group of people that Nick knows the other day came in. We set aside a space for them so they could have a meeting in part of the distillery.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just to have something that's a little,
private.
Now, how much does it seat now? How many seats do you guys have?
64.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's pretty big.
And at some point we want to do a patio outside, but we got to
submit plans for that.
So. Yeah, we have. That's part of it. Well, that'll be in the growth with the still. So. So it seats 64, and the way it's configured, you can look right into the distilling area and watch what those guys are doing in there.
Well, that's awesome.
So,
that's super cool.
Fun.
Well, thank you guys. We're almost at an hour here, so thank you, Nick and Roger. I appreciate it, and I hope everybody will come to your business. You guys are business owners. Support other business owners.
Absolutely.
Straight up Albuquerque, generations Albuquerque. Right. You even got Albuquerque labels.
Right.
Everything.
So, at 5001 Central.
Yeah, 5001 Central. I encourage everyone to go and support local. Thank you, Nick and Roger. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thank you to our sponsor, DukeCityMarketing.com. Please go to abqpodcast.com where you can get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner in Albuquerque.